All right, welcome in, folks. I'm Henish. We're here with I've Got a Theory. I've got my guest on, Angela. And Angela runs a very cool nonprofit here in San Diego that helps feed people. Could you tell me a little bit more about you and your company real quick and what you do? And let's make sure that people know that the great things that you're doing.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we do is we feed kids. So before COVID, we had a food pantry in Barrio Logan where we had about 1,400 families on our program, and we had about 420 to 25 come through every week to pick up food from us. And it was like kind of like a grocery store. So they'd walk through and choose the food they wanted. But then after COVID 19 crisis hit, we had to convert to a drive-through and a walk-up service, and our numbers have doubled. So now we're seeing about 750 families a week. Last week was monumental for us. We gave away 60,000 meals, which is 60,000 pounds of food, which was just gigantic for us. Our families got lots of food.
That's a huge number, considering less than 1 million people live in the city of San Diego.
Well, we actually exceeded 1 million meals in the first 32 months of our program. We've been around for 16 years, but our program's been
Tell me the name of your company, so if people want to help or donate or be kind to you, it's called?
It's allaboutthekids.org.
Awesome.
And all the information is there. Yeah. So
all about the kids. Yeah.
Correct. So now, before that, we were serving kids. We're in our program from 45 schools and over 25 zip codes all throughout San Diego. So we started just serving the barrio, but then it exploded. It's like friends told friends and everybody found out about it. But then after COVID, then we had this mad rush of all kinds of new families. So we've actually taken on another 600.
Well, I mean, it's crazy because it's now June 8th on this taping and everyone's trying to get back to normal. And all we've done is let people that had, wage earner jobs lose their jobs, which is really sad. So the people that could be affected the most have been affected the most, right? It's super painful.
It's very painful, and especially because the most vulnerable, those folks don't know how to navigate the unemployment system. They don't. For most people, it's super hard, and they've been denied when they should have. Most of our families don't know really how to use a computer. They're fantastic families, and it's just barriers right now, and many of them lost their jobs, were put on furlough first, and then lost the job. So we're kind of in limbo. So they didn't know if they had the job or not, which is psychologically just crushing.
Yeah. So here's my theory that I want to discuss because I think it's relevant. I don't think enough people know about it, which is that the theory is that if we distributed the funds properly to every neighborhood and neighborhood school that we collected for taxes, we would have a much more equal and non-biased education system. Instead, we have a system where a certain percentage of a school's funding comes from the property taxes of the immediate area. So if you're from an area that's affluent and have $1 to $2 million houses or more, you're getting a lot of property taxes and you're getting all your kids iPads and renovated schools with air conditioning. Versus if you're in an area where it's mostly rentals or lower value homes, you're collecting that much less property tax, right? Because it's a percentage of the property value. And now you get schools that don't have enough textbooks for kids, let alone computers and iPads. And so now it's like, oh yeah, we have to stop institutional racism. Well, let's start there. Let's give these kids the chance to at least have the resources so they could learn at an equal footing as their rich neighbors.
100%.
So that's my theory. Is I don't think enough people know that, and then one of the main purposes of this show is to increase awareness. So the idea is that audience members, please bring this up with the politicians that make these kind of plans, right? Our state senators and assembly members, and I don't know if city council is involved at all about this in terms of budgeting and stuff like that. But it really disturbs me that you give people that are wealthier better opportunities. And you mentioned earlier, it's not just about schools, it's for other resources as well. Is that why don't we distribute this? That's exactly what the tax and the government is supposed to do, is to help level the playing field so you have equal opportunity, right? You shouldn't be penalized for growing up in a less affluent neighborhood and you can't get books when your neighbors a few miles away are getting $2,000 iPads.
absolutely correct. And our teachers in the non-affluent neighborhoods are struggling to get school supplies. You know, those are huge barriers, as well as the after-school programs, all of the equipment for the gym, for all of those things. Those are left out. So it's difficult to watch, you know, because but you also understand that I think that's why charter schools may have popped up, because charter schools really gave the opportunity for a school to take private funds. Okay, and so that's where charter schools came from. So they could take private funds because they weren't getting enough from the government to pay for the things that were necessary. Okay, so I mean, luckily in Barrio we have King Chavez and the King Chavez whole family of schools who do an amazing job, but they still don't get as much because absolutely the property tax. Also, I believe that a lot of the less affluent neighborhoods get left out because I believe the politicians don't believe that they vote.
Wow.
No, I really don't, because a lot of the families, they don't vote.
So
I
it's
know
not that they don't believe that they don't vote, but they know that they don't vote. But so it's up to the rest of us that are being, you know, having this awakening with all the police and rioting issues that are going on right now, asking for equal rights and equal opportunities and less racism and less discrimination. And yeah, it's helpful to get the police to agree to that. It's helpful to have larger institutions agree to that. But let's start base level, right? When you get a 5-year-old that's going to kindergarten and they've got you know, a decrepit school, just because they weren't lucky enough to be born into a family that lives in a wealthy area, that's just not fair. That's just it seems un-American. And my theory would be is that if more people knew that that's how it worked, they might be amenable to say, hey, maybe my kid doesn't need a $2,000 iPad. Maybe they could just get an Amazon Kindle, and then that way everyone can get one because those are only $100 or whatever, you know, whatever it is. So we can try to level the playing field a little bit more, so that rich kids don't get the advantages unnecessarily, and start off, you know, regular kids or poor kids with this huge disadvantage that obviously gets exacerbated as they grow up in this kind of situation.
it absolutely does, and especially because in the Barrio area, there's not the high schools that there are in the other areas. So they get spread out, and then they go over to San Diego High, and they can't buy the school supplies that are needed. The kids, they can't participate in sports. They can't participate because their families don't have enough money for it. Okay, so it's just it's it's heartbreaking and it's frustrating, because it seems like it's just like it's accepted, like you
Yeah.
said, the theory that you had, and it's like once you say it, then it's like the light bulb turns off and it's like turns on. It's like, well, yeah, yeah, well, why didn't we address that before? No one, that, you know what I mean? No one really addresses that, because the school districts are fighting over money for their schools to begin with. You know, now I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the governor has already warned about the schools, has warned them something about not sure when they'll open because not sure what the budget has for them, which really starts a completely other conversation that I should not get into. So, I mean, now it's financial that we can't get the kids back in school. And it's just, I feel so badly for the children in our communities now and moving forward.
Yeah, and what this has proven, this COVID lockdown has proven, that is that 99% of parents are bad teachers.
Absolutely. I hope that they can realize what a terror their children have been on teachers for all this time. I think out of this, the teachers should get raises. But let me tell you, I have friends who teach in the South, okay, and what they have told me is that because their neighborhoods are so rural, which I think is also comparable for our neighborhoods, they don't have internet access. So this distance learning does not work for them. They only have a 9% rate that the kids are attending, attendance rate, 9%. Okay. And then when they do get the Zoom, you know, because they have to log on and then do their homework and stuff, 9%. And when they get the Zoom talk with the kids, which is only very short. The kids don't want to talk about school. They want to talk to their teacher. They talk about themselves. They miss their friends. They're scared, things like that. So it is just putting shockwaves at so many different levels into what's happening to the kids during this time, but also what the teachers are going through, because they are feel like their hands are tied,
Right.
because many kids see school as a safe haven.
Yep. And so I was just talking to my friends that live in Irvine, and wife is a teacher. So she's been doing Zoom calls to connect. And obviously Irvine is a nicer, more affluent neighborhood. And they were telling me that the kids have been reporting to the teachers all kinds of sketchy stuff at home, abuses and things like that. And so, school has become this kind of safe place where, for 6 to 8 hours a day, no one's going to beat you up unless there's some school bullies. For the most part, you've got it pretty safe from whatever bad influences might be at home. So you can see another side to the planet. So, I mean, at the basics, it's really upsetting to me that as a country, as a government, I mean, there's very little things that we ask for our government, which is to keep us safe from getting bombed or attacked by other countries. Give us a little bit of healthcare options, maybe some transportation opportunities with roads. But right behind that, right up there in the top 5 things that a government needs to do, is to be able to teach their children the basics of how to live on this earth. It doesn't make sense that we would only afford that right to rich people that can afford private school or higher property taxes. Like we need every person to be intelligent at the base level, so you can get them to become productive people on the planet, right? We just can't say, okay, sorry, we can't afford education. Good luck, kid, in this, less affluent neighborhoods or whatever you want. Whatever you want to call it. I mean, poorer neighborhoods. That's what it's called. I mean, it doesn't make sense to disadvantage the children when they're the only opportunity that many families would have to lift themselves out of poverty.
Well, back when school was in session, gosh, this was quite a while, about 12 years ago, I was involved in a teacher for a day. Principal for a day. So I got to go be a principal of a kindergarten through 4th grade school in Claremont. And so I shadowed the principal all day. And what I found was so disturbing to me, and I didn't realize this, is that they had to segregate the kids, okay? And so the kids that had peanut allergies all had to sit together. Kids with other allergies all had to sit together. But what was the part that upset me the most is that the kids that were on the free school lunch that only got a burrito and a salad bar. And everybody else got choices of the other things. So if you saw a kid eating a burrito every time, you're going to know that kid's on the free school lunch program, right? You know how kids are.
Yeah.
And so this was not a 99% school, 100% school like there are down in Barrio, where all the kids get the same food, everybody's eating together, everything's great, okay? This is different, okay? This talk about separating kids within class already starting at the beginning, okay?
That's tough.
So it was frightening for me. And of course, this was years ago. I can only pray that it's different. I don't know, because I only work right now with the schools that are the 99% schools that everybody gets the same food. You know what I mean? And the kids, they're doing the best that they can, the schools that we work with. But right now, they said that it's just torture for them. The teachers and the counselors are just doing their best to reach out to all the kids, but it's just the lack of the resources for the communication, because they're not always proficient on Zoom. Not everybody has a tablet. Not everybody has internet that works that great. And it's just barriers. So absolutely. Me personally, as my opinion, I'm not about, I'm a middle of the road person. Okay. I was a political scientist. That's what I still am. That's what I went to college for. So I look at things from both sides. But when it comes to, because I believe in a free market, I believe in entrepreneurism, I believe in all those things, because that's how I got my job. Basically, starting a charity is basically starting a business. Okay, I know you're an entrepreneur. So, but when it comes to the basics, like you said, when it comes to education, we have to have equality for kids.
Yes.
It's not fair, because by the time they get older, they are disadvantaged. They don't follow through. The high school rates are not as high. And we lose them because we have to get them educated when they're little.
And I would bet that 90% of people, adults, parents, don't realize how the funding works. Don't realize that if you live in a area with lower property values, that you're getting less money for your schools and for your children.
Absolutely, I don't think they know that. I
And,
don't think that that's ever been brought up, and I applaud you for thinking of that theory because it absolutely uh, is mind blowing.
yeah, I mean, so it's tough because there's so many things that we need to fix, but I would think that this should be towards the top of the list. Like getting kids to get smarter, so we don't have future generations of people that are less productive than we need them to, or don't know how to make an honest living and have to go to, less scrupulous versions of income generation, because they weren't taught properly, or they don't have the resources, or the school is not funded right, or the teachers can't afford to get school supplies. I mean, none of this should be happening, not in America. Like, I mean, like, it's crazy to think that we're the richest countries on the planet, yet there's kids without school books.
I say it all the time. I say we were the richest country on the planet, and we have, what is it, 1 out of 5 children is in hunger.
It's
1 out of 5.
it's really
I mean,
too sad.
let's really think about that. Let's think about I mean, that's 1 in 5. So if you have 5 people in your family, at least one of them is not going to eat.
Yeah, that's not right. I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, obviously, we know that's not how it works, because if you got 5 people in your family and you're in a poor neighborhood, none of you might be eating.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I get people cry with me all the time.
Right.
And this is really tough because now the kids aren't getting the free school lunch program for March, April, and May. They didn't get the breakfast, lunch, and snacks that they normally get, which put a big wear and tear on the families. It was possible through the schools, but at first it was really difficult for the families to navigate. Now it's a little bit easier. They do give them like 5 days worth of food. Before they had to come back every day, and it was just super hard for the families because you've got all the kids. You can't get all the kids together to walk all the way to another school,
Right.
because there weren't that many. So it was really super tough. Once again, underserved. Okay,
Yeah.
because so many of the families had to walk there because they don't have cars. Not hard to go get food when you have a car.
Yeah, and you
Right?
could, if you got the money for gas in a car and insurance, then yeah, maybe you've got a few extra
Right?
bucks for
Yeah.
meals. But it's really too sad. So hopefully, we can get this episode out and start making some noise and at least getting people aware. So if I can decrease that 90% that don't know down to 88%, and we can make a 2% dent, I'll consider this a success. But more people need to be aware and talking to their politicians, and maybe someone would make this like a campaign pledge. Hey, if you elect me, I'm going to work to redistribute school funds a little bit more evenly.
Well, let's see. It's property tax, so that's going to be your state. But you get the property taxes get split up everywhere, right? It goes state and the county and the city. They all get a piece of it.
Right.
There's some wonderful people in Senator Wasel's office that have been helping our charity and finding a new location for our food distribution. So I'll reach out to them and I'll tell them and to see if we can have them watch this episode and see what they think, because he's pretty awesome. So, and he understands the plights because he represents our neighborhood.
Right. Awesome. Well, yeah, let's do that. Angela, it's all about the kids.org.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, yeah, please, reach out to her charity and help however you can, because obviously you're doing a great job making sure people don't go hungry, which is a crazy thing to consider that does happen in America, that people go hungry. I'm originally from India, and you hear people starving in India, and you're like, yeah, it's India. People go hungry there, but you don't think of that in America.
No, we don't at all. We think about, a lot of people are in crisis and thinking about themselves. But what's happening now is that more people are going hungry.
Yeah.
There's more people that, that have lost their jobs, and all those unemployed that aren't necessarily on unemployment, like you said, that have no resources for food right now. So that's why it's super important that we get kids and their families fed.
Angela, super sombering episode of I've Got a Theory, but I think it was important to discuss. So thank you for spending a few minutes with us and sharing your views on this. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. So next time I'll come up with a theory, something that I've been thinking about, that more like on the party side.
Oh, I like it.
Something more like that, because we always need some uplifting too. And I really appreciate you having me.
Well, thanks to
and
everyone
getting
for.
my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for everyone for listening to this another episode of I've Got a Theory. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate anyone that's listening. Thank you. I'll.